I never thought I'd be the guy posting something like this, but here I am. My name's Mike, and I've been with my wife, Emily, for about 8 years now. We got married pretty young, and for the most part, I thought we had a good thing going. She's smart, gorgeous, and for a while, I thought we were solid. But things started feeling off a few months ago. Little things, she'd be secretive about her phone, would get snippy if I asked about her plans, and started working late more often. I figured maybe it was just stress or her job, but deep down I knew something was wrong. Then, of course, there was the funeral. My dad died suddenly, and we had a small, quiet ceremony. It was heartbreaking, and I was trying to hold it together for my mom and everyone else. My wife was there, of course, acting sympathetic. At least that's what she pretended to be. But that's when I started noticing things that didn't add up. She was acting too clingy, hovering around me when I was trying to grieve, like she was trying to get my attention in a way that felt wrong. I caught her texting on her phone a lot more than usual, hiding it when I'd glance over. She'd snap at me if I asked her what she was doing, saying I was just being paranoid, that I was imagining things. Then came the night when I finally couldn't ignore it anymore. I was staying up late, going through some of my dad's stuff, trying to find something to hold on to, and I saw her phone on the table. I wasn't snooping, I swear, just trying to find a picture or a note or something to remind me of my dad. But as I looked closer, I saw messages. Not just casual ones, but flirty, suggestive texts to someone named Jake. That's when my stomach dropped. I thought I was imagining it, but no, she was chatting with some guy in ways that no wife should. It wasn't just innocent flirting either. She was talking about sex, about how she wanted to see him, how they could keep this secret. I couldn't believe what I was reading. My wife, the woman I've trusted with everything, was cheating on me. During what was supposed to be the hardest time of my life, she was out there lying, screwing around behind my back. And not just with some stranger. No, it was with my brother. I found out later from a pretty direct source that she'd been meeting him, sneaking around during the funeral reception and probably even before. This whole thing was a nightmare come true. I felt numb, angry, betrayed on every level. I didn't sleep that night, just sat there staring at her messages, trying to process how someone I loved and trusted could do this. The next day I confronted her. I told her I knew everything, that I'd seen her texts, and asked her what the hell was going on. And of course she lied. She said it was just a stupid flirt, that she didn't mean anything, that it was just harmless fun. She said I was overreacting, that I was crazy, and that I was just jealous because I was grieving. She called me paranoid, accused me of snooping. I was furious, but I kept my cool, asking her how she could do this to me, to my family, in the middle of everything. Her face twisted into this bitchy smirk, like she enjoyed playing the victim. She kept telling me I don't understand, that I'm controlling, that she loves me but needed some excitement. All I could think about was how a person could be so cold, so manipulative, how she could lie so easily, knowing what that meant for everything I thought we had. I felt my blood boiling, but I also felt this sick, sinking feeling in my stomach that maybe I'd been blind to it all along. I'd trusted her. I'd loved her. And now I was staring at the wreckage of my marriage, wondering how I got here and why I didn't see the signs sooner. That's when I realized I had to make a decision, either accept this betrayal and stay, or fight back and take control of what's left of me. But honestly, I didn't know if I was strong enough yet to do anything. I just knew I wasn't going to let her get away with it. After that confrontation, everything changed. I was a mess. Anger, hurt, confusion, all battling inside me. She kept denying everything, acting like I'd lost my mind, saying I was just grieving too hard, seeing things that weren't there. It was classic Emily, blame shifting, twisting the story, trying to make me doubt myself. She called me jealous, insecure, and told me I was overreacting to protect herself. That only made the rage worse. How could she sit there and lie with that bitchy little smile on her face? I wasn't stupid. I knew she was lying, that she'd been lying from the start. And the more she denied, the more I saw her for what she really was, a manipulative, selfish liar. I needed time to think, but I also needed to figure out what to do next. I couldn't just walk away without knowing everything, so I started digging. I couldn't believe I'd missed the signs for so long. She'd been hiding her phone all the time, deleting texts, making excuses to go out when she was really meeting him. I started checking her social media, her emails, her bank accounts, anything I could get my hands on. And what I found out was even worse. She'd been lying about where she was during the funeral, saying she was supporting my mom, but I had receipts, text messages from her with Jake, talking about how they were having fun, how she loved the thrill. She'd been sneaking around my house, meeting him in secret, and probably more than that. The worst part was realizing that she'd been lying about everything from the beginning. She told me she was too busy with work, that she was tired, that she loved me but needed a little excitement. But all along, she'd been living this double life, screwing around with my brother, lying to everyone, including her own family. I started thinking about all the times she'd been bitchy, dismissive, and downright cruel to me, and I could see now it was all part of her game. She didn't love me. She just loved the thrill of cheating, of getting away with something forbidden. I decided I had to confront her again, but this time I was ready. I sat her down, told her I knew everything, about the texts, the meetings, the lies, and I told her that I wasn't going to sit around and be played. Her face went pale and she started stammering, trying to come up with excuses. She said she was lonely, that I was never there for her, that Jake just gave her something she was missing. That whole "I need excitement" bullshit. I told her I'd had enough. I told her she was a liar, a manipulator, and that I was done being played for a fool, that I deserved better than this twisted betrayal. The thing is, I felt crushed. I'd always thought our marriage was solid, that we'd get through anything. But finding out she'd been cheating on me with my own brother, that was a punch to the gut I couldn't ignore. It's like everything I believed in about her was just a lie. I kept asking myself how she could be so callous, so cold. How she could betray me during my dad's funeral, the most vulnerable moment of my life. I still remember walking out of that room, feeling hollow, like I'd lost part of myself. And I knew then I had to think long and hard about what I was going to do, because this wasn't just an affair. It was a complete blow to everything I thought I knew about her, about us, and about myself. And yet, even in that dark moment, I also felt a strange sense of clarity. I saw her for exactly what she was, someone who lied, cheated, and used me like I was nothing more than a fool. I had to decide if I wanted to keep fighting for this or if I was done. All I knew was that I wasn't going to let her destroy me anymore. I needed to reassess, to figure out if there was any way to salvage what little dignity I had left. But deep down, I knew that trusting her again might be the hardest thing I'd ever have to do. After I laid everything out, told her I knew that I wasn't going to be played anymore, she snapped at me, trying to turn it around. She started crying, acting all innocent, saying I was overreacting, that I was just insecure, that I was jealous. She called me controlling, said I was reading into things too much, that she loved me but needed a little excitement. That was her favorite line, that I love you, but like that somehow justified everything. But I wasn't buying it anymore. I saw through her act, her bitchy attitude, the way she snapped at everyone, the lying, the sneaking. This was who she was. She's manipulative and selfish, and she's been hiding it for years. I decided I had to get some distance. I told her I needed a break, that I couldn't be around her until I sorted out what I wanted. I packed a bag and left that same night. I didn't want to be in the same house anymore, couldn't stand the sight of her, knowing what she'd done. I stayed at a friend's place for a few days, just trying to breathe, trying to process everything. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her messages, her smirk, her lies. I kept replaying that moment I first saw the texts, thinking about how much I'd trusted her, how naive I'd been. In those days apart, I started talking to a few friends, and honestly, their reactions were pretty eye-opening. Everyone said I deserved better, told me to get out, to walk away from the whole mess if I needed to. Some even suggested I look into legal stuff, just in case she tried to deny everything or take advantage of me. I felt so betrayed, by her, by my brother, by everyone I thought I knew. How could they all be so quick to turn against me or defend her? But honestly, I didn't care. I knew I couldn't keep pretending she was innocent anymore. I had to face the reality that my marriage was over, and I had to figure out what life looked like after this. Meanwhile, she kept texting me, trying to apologize, trying to say she'd change, trying to convince me that it was just a stupid mistake. She insisted she loved me, that she'd never do anything to hurt me, that she was confused and lost. But her words sounded so hollow now. I could see through her lies, her guilt-stricken act. I knew she was just trying to save herself, to manipulate me into forgiving her. And honestly, I was sick of it. I'd had enough of her crying crocodile tears and promising things she clearly didn't mean. I didn't want her anymore, not as my wife, not as my partner. I felt like I was waking up from a nightmare I'd been stuck in for years. That's when I started to think about what I really wanted. Did I want to try to fix this, or was I finally done? The truth is, part of me still loved her. Deep down, I guess I always will. But I also knew I couldn't stay with someone who lied and cheated on me in such a brutal way, especially not during the worst time of my life. I realized I was better off without her, even if it hurt like hell. I needed to focus on myself now, rebuild from this mess, and maybe someday find someone who actually respects me. But even now, every time I hear her name, every time I see her face, I feel that sting of betrayal. It's like my trust has been shattered into a million pieces. I keep asking myself how I was so blind, how I didn't see the signs, how I missed all the red flags. And I keep telling myself I deserve better, that I won't let her ruin me. Still, it's hard. Harder than I ever thought it would be. This whole thing has changed me forever, and I don't know if I'll ever really get past it. All I can do now is keep moving forward, even if the road ahead looks a lot darker than I ever expected. It's been a few weeks since I left the house, and I won't lie, every day has been a battle. At first, I was just numb, trying to drown out the rage and sadness with work and distraction. But the truth is, her betrayal hit me in ways I never expected. Seeing her lie, watching her manipulate her way out of everything, it made me question everything I thought I knew about her. And about us. The worst part is knowing that she's been lying for so long, about her whereabouts, about her feelings, about everything. I caught her in so many lies, but I also realize now that the biggest lie was that she ever truly loved me. I remember one night, sitting alone in a coffee shop, staring into my cup, trying to figure out what comes next. That's when I finally admitted to myself she's not the woman I thought she was. She's selfish, bitchy, and a master manipulator. I also started thinking about how I got here. I was so blinded by her beauty and her charm that I ignored all the warning signs. I mean, I even found out she'd been cheating on me with my brother, who's supposed to be family. How messed up is that? During my dad's funeral, no less. That moment, knowing she was out there screwing around while I was mourning, that was the real slap in the face. I started to feel angry, so much anger I didn't know where to put it. But underneath that, there was also a deep sadness. I kept thinking about the good times, the plans, the trust I had in her. It's like all of that is gone now, replaced with this bitter taste of betrayal. I kept asking myself why I didn't see it coming, why I was so stupid. It's hard not to blame myself. But I also know I've been broken open and I have to rebuild piece by piece. I can't let her win by dragging me down into despair. The thing is, I've started making some moves. I've been talking to a lawyer just to understand what my options are if I decide to divorce. I want out of this mess, but I also want to protect myself. I've been trying to get my head straight, figuring out what I need to do for my own peace of mind. I won't lie. Sometimes I think about confronting her again, telling her exactly how I feel, exposing her for the liar she is. But part of me knows that it might be pointless. She's good at spinning stories, at making herself the victim. And honestly, I don't think I could handle seeing her smirk or play the innocent victim once more. I've also been reflecting on how I let her get away with so much. I was always the nice guy, giving her the benefit of the doubt, trying to keep everything smooth. But now I see it's not about being nice. It's about self-respect, about knowing when to walk away because someone doesn't deserve your loyalty or your love anymore. I keep telling myself I shouldn't feel guilty for feeling hurt or angry. She's the one who cheated, who lied, who betrayed everything we had. That's on her, not me. Still, I can't deny that part of me hurts every time I think about losing her, losing our life together. It's like a wound that keeps bleeding. But I also know I have to focus on healing, on moving forward. I've started going to the gym, trying to clear my head, and I've been talking to a counselor to deal with all this emotional chaos. Every day is a new challenge, but I'm determined not to let her destroy me completely. I want to be strong enough to walk away from this and find happiness again, something she clearly doesn't want me to have. I guess the biggest lesson I've learned is that trust isn't something you should take for granted. When someone shows you who they are, believe them. Don't ignore the red flags, and don't be afraid to walk away if you're getting played. Because at the end of the day, your peace of mind matters more than trying to save a sinking ship. I don't know what's coming next, but I'm finally starting to see the light at the end of the tunnel. Slowly but surely, I'll get through this. I just wish it hadn't taken me so long to wake up. It's been a little while now, and I've reached a point where I feel like I can breathe again. Not fully, not yet, but enough to see the road ahead more clearly. I've made the decision to finalize the divorce. Honestly, I don't think I could go back to her even if I wanted to. Every time I think about her lying, cheating, and sneaking around during our hardest moments, it just reaffirms that I deserve better. I've realized that some betrayals are so deep, so toxic, that trying to fix them only prolongs the pain. What's really hit me hard is how she's been trying to circle back, pretending everything's okay, acting like she's the victim. She's calling, texting, trying to guilt me into staying, telling me she loves me and that she's changed. But I see right through it now. It's just her way of trying to keep me from walking away. She's still the same manipulative, bitchy woman she's always been, just a little more desperate now. Honestly, I don't see any genuine remorse. I think she's just scared because she knows she's lost everything that mattered to her. Me, her family, her reputation. It's funny how you start seeing things clearly when everything's falling apart. I used to think she was the one, that we had something special. Now I know I was blind. I was so wrapped up in her beauty, her charm, that I ignored all the red flags, her bitchy attitude, her lies, her manipulations. I was so eager to keep the peace that I overlooked how cold she could be when she wanted something. And that's the truth. She's selfish to her core. She always put herself first, even if it meant destroying the trust we built. That realization hurts like hell, but it also frees me, because I don't want to be with someone who treats me like that anymore. I've been focusing on myself. I've started working on my career again, reconnecting with friends, and just trying to rebuild my sense of self. It's not easy. Some days I feel like I'm back at square one. But I keep telling myself I'm not going to let her define me. I never thought I'd get to this point, being thankful for the clarity, the strength to walk away. But honestly, it feels like a relief. It's like finally taking off a heavy backpack I didn't realize I was carrying around for years. I know there's still a long road ahead, and healing takes time, but at least I'm moving forward. The biggest lesson I've learned from this whole nightmare is to never ignore your gut. When you see the signs, whether it's secretive behavior, lying, or just a feeling that something's off, trust yourself. Don't let anyone convince you it's all in your head, because the truth is, if I had listened to my instincts earlier, I might have saved myself a lot of pain. I also learned that sometimes walking away is the bravest thing you can do. Staying in a toxic situation just drags you down. I have to believe that someday I'll find someone who respects me, who values honesty, and who actually loves me for who I am. For now, I'm just trying to focus on rebuilding my life, piece by piece. I don't expect everything to be perfect overnight, and I know I'll probably carry scars for a while. But I'm starting to feel hopeful again. It's a slow process, but I'm finally figuring out who I am outside of her lies. And honestly, that feels pretty damn good. I just hope anyone else out there going through something similar knows you're stronger than you think. Keep moving forward even when it hurts. You'll come out of it eventually, and trust me, it's worth it. Now, as I sit here reflecting on everything, I realize how much I've been changed by this whole experience. I used to think love meant giving someone your trust unconditionally. Turns out, love also means knowing when to cut your losses and walk away when the trust is completely broken. That's the hardest lesson I've learned. Sometimes, loyalty isn't enough, especially when the person you trusted the most turns out to be your biggest betrayal. The thing that hurts most is knowing I was so blind for so long. She lied, cheated, manipulated, and never once showed any real remorse. Instead, she tried to spin it all, pretend like she was the victim. But I see through her now. I see her for what she is, a shallow, selfish woman who thought she could get away with anything. I used to think she was my soulmate, the one person I could always count on. Now I know that was just a lie I told myself to keep from falling apart. I've learned to rely on myself more, to trust my gut, to prioritize my peace of mind. I realized I don't need someone like her in my life, no matter how much I might still care. Because caring isn't enough when the person you care about repeatedly chooses lies over honesty. I've accepted that sometimes love means letting go, that walking away is the strongest choice you can make for your own sanity. Most of all, I've learned to forgive myself, for trusting her, for letting it go on as long as I did, forgiving myself for not seeing the signs sooner, because it's easy to blame yourself when someone you love betrays you, but the truth is, everyone makes mistakes. The bigger mistake is staying in a situation that's only hurting you. Now I see clearly that I deserve better, someone who is honest, respectful, and real. Someone who won't lie or cheat or manipulate, especially not during the most vulnerable moments of life. So here I am, finally starting to feel like I can move on. It's not easy, and I don't expect it to be overnight. There will be days when I feel the pain all over again, days when I question if I made the right choice. But I know deep down I'm doing what's best for me. I'm reclaiming my life, my dignity, and my happiness. I hope anyone reading this who's going through something similar remembers. Never settle for lies, never ignore the red flags, and never be afraid to walk away if someone is tearing you down. Love isn't supposed to hurt this much, and you deserve a love that's real, one built on honesty, respect, and trust. I'm not perfect, and I still have a long way to go. But I'm finally free from her grip, and that's the greatest relief I could ask for. I'm ready to rebuild, to find happiness again, and to trust myself enough to never let someone betray me like this again. Because in the end, the only person who can truly protect your heart is yourself. And I've learned that the hard way.